G'day everybody, Dan here again, coming to you from lockdown in Melbourne, Australia. Just want to give you a quick rundown on the Analogman Amaze1. So I got this pedal a few months back now. Absolutely love it, but it was a bit of a steep learning curve for me to actually plug it in and get it going. So I'll give you a quick look at the instruction sheet here. So all the info is there, but just took me a little bit longer than I would have liked to get some sounds out of it. So I thought I'd make this video for anybody that's just purchased this pedal, in the hope you might be able to plug it in and get some sounds a bit quicker than I did. So the first thing you'll need is a stereo patch cable. Now you'll notice that there's two jacks on the back here, so they're not labelled. This one on the right you can connect expression pedals and a few other things we'll get into later, and this one on the left is called the CV jack. It's right next to the 9-volt power input. So that one there we want to bring across and plug into our Analogman ARDX20. Now this is the latest version of it with the squarer box. Now this one's labelled, so you can see across the top you've got from right to left, you've got the input, you've got an effects loop, which if you've got a stereo insert cable you can plug a flanger or chorus or whatever you like in the effects loop here, so that will affect the repeats of the delay. In the middle you get your 9-volt input, and you've got the extension jack, which is what the Amaze1 is connected to, and the output there on the left. So if you're not familiar with this pedal, it's got basically two delay pedals in one. You've got your on-off switch here on the right, and then on the left you can go between A up the top, which gives you level feedback and time, and B, which again gives you level feedback and time down the bottom here. So it's a great pedal by itself. The two things that the foot switch gives you is modulation and tap tempo, which you don't have in this original unit here. So once we do plug the Amaze in, what it's going to do is it's going to control delay B down the bottom there. So delay A will still stay the same. So whatever you do to the knobs here, or whatever you do on the Amaze1 won't affect either one. But once you've got the Amaze plugged in, now the delay time here on line B basically doesn't function anymore, and your tap tempo and your time is all controlled from the Amaze. So the level and the feedback still work because we don't actually have those controls on the Amaze. So if we go back over to the Amaze, you can see here we've got mod on the left and tap on the right. So there's a lot to this for a little pedal, but you've got two modes. So Analogman calls this mode 1, which is manual mode, and we're looking at right now. And what that gives us is control of the modulation, so we can turn the modulation on and off on this side, and then we can tap in our time with the one on the right there. So this knob here, as you can see, you've got from 1 through to 10, that's your speed, and this one on the right is your depth. Now the depth is a little bit interesting because you've got two different sounds here. From 1 to 5 we've got a linear modulation, so like a tape flange sort of thing I think is what it's aiming for. So 1 being the least modulation and 5 being the heaviest, and then from 6 to 10 it starts again. So 6 is the lightest, but now we're looking at a tape delay type modulation, so it's meant to simulate the the irregular random sounds that you'll get from the capstan and different things on a tape delay. So from 6 to 10 gives you from the lightest to the deepest setting there. So if we have a look now at the two switches, besides being able to tap in the tempo and turn the modulation on and off, you can hold these two down and we're going to get extra features. So the one on the left, the modulation, if we hold that down, that actually takes us into mode 2. And the tap tempo, if we hold this down, this gives us our different time signatures. So you've got your standard quarter note, eighth, dotted 6 and 16ths. So if we hold it down, it's going to scroll through them and we just let go where we want. So let's say we'll go for an eighth. You've got to be a little bit quick with this. There's an eighth there. And now you can see what it's done is it's displaying the tap tempo time here and the subdivision up the top for what we've selected. So 452 milliseconds. If we go across to a dotted eighth, there's what we've tapped in, and there's a subdivision. 16th notes, so they're getting shorter as you go up. Okay, so now let's have we'll go back to quarter note. So they're both the same again now. On the left, we'll hold the modulation one down and we'll go into program mode, or preset mode I like to call it. So in mode 2 here, you've actually got 8 presets that you can store. So you flick through them by pressing the tap button. Each time takes you through a different preset. And then once you get to 8, you hit it one more time, it takes you back to a manual mode where you've still got access to all the controls. So let's go back to preset 1 there for a tick. So in this mode, the two knobs up the top change a little bit. So the one on the left now controls your time. Sorry, the one on the right. Now they're not doing anything at the moment, and that's because that preset's been saved. So if we want to edit that, we'll actually have to hold down the tap switch. And there we go, let go on edit mode. And as you can see, the one on the right there controls the time. So we can go from 640 milliseconds all the way down to 60 milliseconds. Now what I've actually found is the controls on the pedal itself actually go a bit slower than 60 milliseconds. So 60 milliseconds on the pedal is about there. But we can go all the way down to here. So I'm guessing this starts around 20 to 30 somewhere. But with the Amaze1, the lowest it'll allow you to go is 60 milliseconds. So that's your speed there, as we just said. And then on the left, this is your modulation. But this works a bit different now. Before we had this speed controlled by this knob and the depth controlled by this knob. That's when we're in the manual mode. So we can go back there by holding this down. But now, just by turning this, they're together. So you can see the speeds going from 1, quite sensitive, it just jumped to 9, 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we've gone across to the second depth setting, so it's a little bit deeper now. And then our speed will go up to 10 again. And we've gone on to 3, all the way through to 5, which is, if we get that up to 10, very touchy, there we go. So that's the linear modulation, the first type of waveform they give you on the fastest speed. So we turn that one more time, just a little bit, and we're on to 6. So now we're on to the tape delay. And we can turn the speed up, and we get a bit more tape delay, and turn the speed up. And then 9, speed going up, 10. So that's full tape delay as fast as it goes. And you can see the little speed symbol there on the left is slowing down Cool. So if we want to save that, all we do is hold it down. Oop, we're back out of edit mode, and now we've saved it. So if I go across to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, come back to 1, that's what we just saved. What else have we got here? So preset 1 to 8. So this one here, if we hold it down, we've got to go across to manual mode. There's another group of settings in here. So once it's in manual mode, we hold it down, you can control your settings for the CV output. Now, I haven't actually been able to find any literature what this is all about, but I'd suggest you leave it where it is unless you do know. So hold it down again, we'll go back into manual. So that's it. So that's in mode 2 still. So don't get this manual here confused with mode 1, which is actual manual mode. Right. Which gives you your tap tempo, and notice they're not doing anything now. When we turn the modulation on, there's your depth and there's your speed. So another thing I found a little bit confusing here, which I'm sure there's a good reason for that I haven't worked out yet, is once I start tapping in the tap tempo, it goes 1, 2, 3, and then it starts sort of acting a bit more normal. So if anyone can chime in and tell us why it does that and what that means, that would be great. Really love to know. Okay, besides that, I think that just about covers it. We'll just have a quick talk about this extra output you've got here. So you can plug in a few different things. There's some dip switches inside, which give you 3 different modes. So if you've got it set to mode 1, you can plug in a FS6, a Boss style dual foot switch, which will give you control over these modulation and time. If we've got the dip switches set to mode 2, you can plug in an expression pedal, which will give you control over modulation, speed. And if we set it on mode 3, the expression pedal plugged in will give you control over the modulation time. So I think setting 1 is for a dual foot switch, setting 2 is for an expression pedal to control the modulation, and setting 3 is the expression pedal to control the time. Now the other thing you can do with it is you can wire up a patch cable. You have to get on the website and wire up a cable yourself, specifically how they describe it on the website, and you can use it to send a tap output, so you can sync another pedal with it. So if you've got a Strymon pedal or something that takes a tap input, you can have it so when you change the time signature on here, the time will change on your Strymon, on your chorus or whatever you've got going on your Strymon. I hope that helps. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment down the bottom.